Natraj statue, it's really, as I said, it's an epic statue. We are actually missing out on very, very interesting dimensions of Indian art, which are really to do with a certain kind of visual skill. It's important to be aware of where we are located and what are expectations from that past.
We are present here at the Indira Gandhi National Centre for Arts, where Professor Parul Duve Mukherji, who is a professor of Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi, delivered a lecture on decolonizing Indian art history via problems of mimesis in the Citrasutra. Professor talked in length about Coomaraswamy and his contribution in decolonizing Indian art history and how the topic is relevant in today's world. She also talked about the placement of the Natraj statue during the G20 event in Bharat Mandapam. The placement of the Natraj statue outside the Bharat Mandapam, which was really talked about. So, what is your take to it, and how do you see it? Why do you think it was important, and what does it symbolize?
Well, Natraj statue, it's really, as I said, it's an epic statue, and it's a statue about which Coomaraswamy has written in detail. In fact, he's written a full chapter on the symbolism of Natraj statue. Everything, every part, every detail in that statue has got very profound meaning. And so it's an artwork which has been canonized over so many years. So I'm actually not surprised why this was selected. You know, a certain gravity of meaning is present in that enormous work.
We would like to know that what is your understanding of decolonizing the Indian art?
Yeah, so my talk today really took up a very large topic, decolonizing Indian art history. But I was looking at it through a very, very focused issue around visual representation, and of course in the context of pre-modern Indian art. And if you recall, I started with an image from Ajanta.
Yes.
And it's one of my favorite images from Ajanta, where you find that in that what I call talking head, there's so much of vivacity, I would say lifelikeness, and I feel that art history has really overlooked engagement with figures, even certain details, such as the figure who is in the act of speaking, who actually has his mouth open, and certain details which are rendered like, the upper and lower rows of teeth. Now, these details I don't come across in any art history books where they actually analyze. And I feel that, for me, it's a big question. Why are we not really kind of engaging visually with these artworks? Is it because of a certain kind of framework with which we are habituated, which only tells us to look at Indian art through some spiritual lens, and therefore perhaps we are actually missing out on very, very interesting dimensions of Indian art, which are really to do with a certain kind of visual skills, ability to represent details from the world, but in a very different language. And I feel that, of course, I am a great admirer of Coomaraswamy, but Coomaraswamy, because he belonged to a time where he had to adopt different strategies of creating a distinction between Indian art being spiritual and Western art being naturalistic. And I feel that these images, they speak to Indian art theory, which are already there. And if for us decolonizing makes any sense, it is to perhaps to go back to those textual sources and actually to listen to them, rather than apply our own preconceived ideas about spiritualism and so on. We are actually doing disservice to our past. That's what my take on decolonization is.
Ma'am, also we see in our Indian art, especially the art of during the time of the Vedas or the Puranas or our epics, mainly the painters used symbols and signs and gestures, be it the chakra or the deer to symbolize desire. But the pictures or the paintings of patrons or the kings were majorly absent. So why do you feel it is so?
I think perhaps there's a way of interpreting these images. And for example, new research has shown that so many figures within, say, Bharut Stupa, those narratives in Bharut Stupa, you could actually identify even the figures of donors, And so I must say that what are the grids through which we are interpreting the past? We have to be aware of our own frameworks. If you want to only look at symbolism, then you'll only look at those details and you will overlook others. So it's important to be aware of where we are located and what are expectations from that past. Because past is very malleable.
Yes.
It will take the shape of the question that you ask. And therefore we have to be very careful.
And we've seen that you have done a thorough research on Coomaraswamy. We've also found your article on ResearchGate and various other websites. So why Coomaraswamy?
When I first started doing my doctoral work in Oxford, I was to bring out a critical edition of the Citrasutra. So I had to be familiar with all the scholars who had looked at this text before me. And so apart from Stella Kramrisch, the Viennese art historian, who was first to translate this text into English, the next person who took deep interest was Coomaraswamy. And therefore, if you translate any text or bring out this critical edition, then you also have to be aware of who are the authors who had looked at it earlier and what were their interpretative frameworks. So in that sense, I got very interested in Coomaraswamy's contribution.
For such fine news breaks and video features from ground on your mobile phones, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, The New Indian, by clicking on the bell icon. Also, follow us on the social media handles on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and Co.